Hello, my lovelies. So, I'm back. Hey. Basically, I just miss making videos. And I got a bunch of questions on Ask FM. And I was gonna make a Q&A video. It was like 119 questions, and that was the goal. I was gonna make a Q&A video like 2 months ago, and I never got to it. So as I was making the video, and I did film it, it ended up being like 40 minutes. So I was gonna edit it, but then rifling through the questions, there was a lot of questions on there that deserved more than like a blip in a Q&A video. They deserved like a whole video themselves. So I thought, hey, why not? I'm just gonna make a video for the really important questions. And so here I am. So what I'm going to talk about today, I guess, and like, disclaimer, this is all my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. I actually welcome people disagreeing with me and having a discussion with me about it, because I sort of want to hear other people's points on this, and like maybe I can learn something from it. So if ever I'm talking about something that you don't necessarily agree with, feel free to like type out an essay. I'll definitely read it, because I'm curious what other people think about this as well. And maybe it'll change my mindset. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, and what I'm going to talk about today is the idea, I'll post the comment because I don't remember the actual question, but it's the idea of losing interest, which actually really fucking sucks. So the question was something about why do people lose interest? And I'm gonna assume that this means romantically or sexually or whatever sort of relationship you're in. But the idea of someone losing interest doesn't really matter who you are. If you are invested in this relationship with this person, if to you are so still very much interested and then they lose interest, it fucking sucks. Like, there's no way around it. It really sucks. And it's, you know, it's a part of life. It happens. With that being said, like, there's a lot of ways to sort of ground yourself and remind yourself that it genuinely has nothing to do with you. So my personal opinion on why people lose interest is, well, there's a couple. So I think when you're just talking with somebody, I don't know, this could be a whole other video, but our generation really throws me off with like the way that they date. They're like talking, they're hanging out, they're dating but they're not exclusive, they're exclusive but they're not boyfriend and girlfriend. It really throws me in for one, so that could be a whole other video because it sort of like grinds my gears a little bit. But in the stages of like courting and like dating around or whatever, and you find somebody that you're really interested in, I think people lose interest around this stage mostly because, and this could only be my opinion and like some of my friends that I've talked to this about, I think it has a lot to do with, sorry, I'm like searching my thoughts right now because there's so much going on right now, trying to think about this and like lay it out. But I think that it has a lot to do with sort of giving too much of yourself too quickly. And I don't necessarily mean like physically. I don't mean like having sex with this person or hooking up with this person or whatever it may be like too quickly. Although I'm pretty sure psychology, there's a lot that goes on there about how that sort of plays a role in like interest and like if you guys are gonna date after or whatever. But that's, I mean, relationships work out if you do and whatever. That's not what this is about. It's, I think when you give too much of yourself sort of emotionally and you lay it all out on the line, and I think that's sort of why people are so afraid to be vulnerable, because they could be so invested very quickly in a person and then they lose that interest. That person loses that interest. Yeah, and then that person loses that interest, and then, you know, you go on to another relationship. And I know people say that, like, trust issues, like, don't let other relationships define your current one, or when you start dating again. But, like, the reality is that it does. It's going to affect, because that's how we grow as people. We take from past experiences that we've had, and we build upon that, right? So you're gonna not want to be as vulnerable and, like, give enough of yourself. So I think when you give too much of yourself, or you don't give enough, the person loses interest. When you give too much of yourself, I think humans inherently want some sort of mystery, at least at the beginning of, like, courting and, like, talking and that. I think people want mystery. They won't admit it. They'll say that they don't like games and that, but you want some sort of mystery. You want to feel like there's something else to figure out. And my example of this is, like, last year when I had just, like, gotten out of a really long relationship, I started going on dates because I hadn't dated in the adult world yet. And I, like, if I went on a date with somebody that, like, quickly sort of laid their life out on a plate, on a platter for me, I was like, wow, that's a lot. I'm overwhelmed. Okay. And they could be this great person. They could have been, you know, whatever. But for me, I was like, oh, this is too much. Okay. And so they'd message me when I get home, and I'd be like, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't see this working out. And I could have been so interested in them going into it. Like, a couple dates in, I could have been so interested. And then, you know, it comes to that point and you're just like, wow. Or the flip side of that is not giving enough of yourself, I think. And I'm personally have maybe struggled with both. I think everyone has, where, like, you're sort of trying to figure out a happy medium, because I've been told that I'm, like, very elusive. So told that I'm, like, I keep a lot of things to myself, which is valid and it's okay, but there's a fine balance, right? And then I've been told, well, not told, but I get the feeling that I'm maybe giving too much of myself. So I think it's, like, a fine balance. I think if you're elusive, people are like, hey, I don't want to play games, I'm not here for that. So then they dip and they are not interested anymore. And if you give too much of yourself, it's the same outcome, I think. So I think it's important to find a fine balance. So I actually thought that I cut this part out. I cut the actual part of me talking about it out, but basically I was talking about losing interest in long relationships or marriages, but the whole idea of that actually makes me really sad. Yeah, anyways, enjoy the rest of the video. Another thing with losing interest, I think, is that maybe, you know, while you're dating, especially, like, if it's early on, and you're learning about each other, and maybe you're both laying it out all on the table, maybe that person's they found something that doesn't mesh with, like, their values and their morals, or is something that is, like, definitely not okay, or definitely not something that I could get over. And I think that that's okay, and I also think that it's really important to respect that, and sort of, I mean, fight for a relationship for sure, but I think when somebody loses interest, don't, because for me, from my standpoint, why would you want to fight for somebody that so clearly doesn't want to be with you anymore in that way? Especially when it's early on, I think it's easier to accept than, like, maybe if it was later and they told you, like, a year in, if they were still trying to figure it out, which happened. So yeah, I think that it's a really unfortunate reality, but the best thing to remember, I think, for me anyways, is that this isn't something that you could change. This is something that the other person decided for them, made a decision for them, for the two of you in your relationship and whatever you guys are doing, and you sort of have to roll with it. You sort of have to roll with it, and that's just a part of life. Like, know that it's not necessarily you as a person. It's your two, and it's gonna sound really cheesy, but the best way I can describe it is that your two souls, your two puzzle pieces, your two whatever you want to call it, your energy, it doesn't flow, it doesn't go together, it's not magnetic. Your energy, your souls, they need to flow, and if they don't flow, and if that person's been like, hey man, yeah, like, not about it anymore, and they've thought about it, you know, then you're gonna have to be okay with that. I think that's, yeah, I don't know. Those are my reasons. That's why I think people lose interest. Anyways, my rant didn't really make much sense. I should have written jot notes, but I kind of like when I ramble. It feels very authentic and like natural or whatever. But anyways, if you liked this video, if you don't agree with me, please comment down below. Write an essay, I will read it. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all the same username. So yeah, but anyways, I hope you liked this video. Comment if you have anything else you want me to talk about, ramble about, I'll say. And yeah, have a good rest of your day, my lovelies. Bye.